Welcome to the Health Babes podcast with Doctors Becky Campbell and Crystal Hohn, where we talk everything health. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Health Babes podcast. We're so excited. We have Ashleigh Norris, who's the founder of the Soulful Sprout and is a registered holistic nutritionist and functional practitioner in Toronto, Canada, who works with individuals to take control of their health and their hormones. She is a leader in women's hormone and gut health, a fierce patient advocate, and dedicated to uncovering the root cause imbalances for her clients. She recently started Soulful Tea Blends, which we're so excited to talk about. It's a line of organic healing teas formulated to balance your hormones through each phase of your menstrual cycle and beyond. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Ash.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes.
I'm just looking at the card that comes with the teas, and it's awesome because she has the days of the menstrual cycle, like what's happening with the hormones. You guys are going to love this. I can't wait to talk about this. So anyway, let's get into it. So let's talk about how you got into hormone and gut health. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like most of us, I feel my own healing journey really brought me to focus on hormone and gut health. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid disease at age 19. And back then, there really wasn't a lot of education, patient-focused education or resources on this. So I went most of my life not really knowing how to manage autoimmunity or how to even fix my thyroid. So I just kind of relied on prescription medications. And then at the age of 27, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, which was a shock to me at such a young age, but also such a gift because it opened my eyes to holistic healing and just really understanding how my body works and starting to take a little bit more of an empowered stance around that. So from there, I, healed my own body, went back to school, and now I get to show up for other people and support them on their own healing journey.
Wow, that's amazing. I knew you had Hashimoto's, but I didn't know you had thyroid cancer.
Yeah. So it's 6 years now since I had thyroid cancer, and I had a total thyroidectomy. So life without a thyroid is a little bit different, but also much the same as life with maybe an underactive thyroid or hypothyroidism.
Yeah, we have a lot of that in our practice, patients with half, thyroid missing or the whole, or just Hashimoto. I have Hashimoto's too. So we work with a lot of that. So
yeah. What do you feel is overlooked when it comes to hormone healing with the journey that you've been on and everything that you're doing to help people?
Yeah, there's so much information out there about our hormones right now. But one of the things that I feel is most overlooked, and honestly, I think should be the first place that we're starting, is really the connection between our hormones and gut health. And patients are often surprised when they come into my practice and I start asking about their gut health, their bowel movements, how their digestion is, and things like that. And we'll often order comprehensive labs related to gut health, so like the GI map stool testing, as part of their hormone balancing program or protocol, because I think, and I've seen time and time again, especially in the early days of my practice, only running like Dutch testing, a lot of the conditions that we're dealing with relationship to our hormones really do start in our gut. Yeah. So that's something that's always comes as a bit of a surprise to people, like, oh, you want to ask me about my bowel movements and, acid reflux and burping after meals. And these chronic conditions create chronic inflammation in our body, which then kind of ripples out into mood changes, period changes, thyroid conditions, and other hormone imbalances.
Yeah, we do the GI map. It's such a great test, isn't it?
It's really life-changing, I feel.
And it's very specific. I feel it catches everything because there's so many companies out there, right? But it's our favorite.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just having that information, like we can learn a lot from the Dutch testing about like the what's happening. But I always explain to my clients, like the GI map is the why. It's the why behind what isn't or is happening too much, like what is being underproduced in terms of hormones or maybe overproduced. And it really answers those questions of why. And as functional practitioners, that's what we're always looking at, the why behind the story that's happening for our clients, right?
Yeah. And it's so good to do those two together. I mean, it's like a map into a person's body. It's awesome. So why, can you explain a little bit more to people who don't understand gut health that well? Like why does the gut health control as much as it does?
Yeah. So with relationship to your hormones, I mean, we're used to talking about some major hormone groups. Let's say our thyroid hormones. So your gut microbiota, meaning the microbes, the good and bad bacteria in your gut, work together and they communicate with every cell in your body. So low microbial diversity, meaning like low beneficial bacteria and not having a large diversity of bacteria in your gut, with relationship to your thyroid has been linked to high TSH. So if you ever go to the doctor and you come back with this blood work that says elevated TSH, instead of being, thinking, oh no, now I have to lower my thyroid medication or something's wrong with my thyroid, I have underactive thyroid. I think one of the areas we can start to look at is like, do I have low microbial diversity? So too much TSH can cause your body to start to produce lower levels of thyroid hormones. So maybe you'll see low T4 or low T3. And sometimes this leads to hypothyroidism. So that's the link there between underactive thyroid and your gut health.
Yeah.
And even with yeah. So, I mean, and this was a really common thing for myself too. I'm like, oh, I have elevated TSH. I have hypothyroidism. I need to go on Synthroid. And nobody ever asked me, like, how's your digestion? And it was terrible. Right. So looking back on all those years. And so if somebody just even, turned on that light bulb for me about my gut health maybe playing a role here, I think things could have been a lot different. And maybe, another really important pillar for supporting our thyroid health going forward.
And plus the conversion, we need to convert that T4 to T3. And a lot of that happens from the gut bacteria as well.
So much. Yes. And, a lot of key vitamins and minerals are needed for those conversions and the production of those key hormones too. And if we're not absorbing on a gut level, like we're not getting those nutrients to the cells to make that work happen. Right. So yeah, really, really deeply connected. And then another popular one is estrogen, right? We're all talking about estrogen, whether it's high, whether it's low. And there's really, there's a newer research coming out about our estrobolome, which is essentially microbes in our gut that work on regulating our estrogen levels.
Yes.
So we know that our liver plays a key role here, right? But our gut is actually responsible for what we're calling phase 3 estrogen detoxification. And if you have an imbalance in your estrobolome, if you have maybe low beneficial bacteria or an overgrowth, those microbes that help you to metabolize estrogen, it's just not there. And so we can start to see issues with elevated levels of estrogen, or what a lot of people are calling estrogen dominance. And even PCOS and endometriosis are, there's a lot of research around how those are linked to our estrobolome and estrogen metabolism.
Yeah. What do you feel are some key signs? Like if someone's listening right now and they're like, okay, is my gut health ruining my hormones and my thyroid health? What are some signs, people can look for?
Yeah, so I do believe that our digestion should be a pretty seamless process. It's one of those automatic processes that are happening in our body, much like us breathing. We don't have to really think about breathing for the most part. We don't have to think about, our heart beating, and our digestive system should be something of that nature, right? Like it shouldn't be something we're always thinking about, always unbuttoning our pants after meals, always super aware of the bloating and discomfort. And any of those is just a sign of imbalance, right? So thinking if you have from top down, starting in your stomach, acid reflux, heartburn, indigestion after meals, bloating, cramping, abdominal distension that's, incredibly uncomfortable, feeling like you're looking 5 months pregnant by the end of the day. And that that's just not the way your body naturally is. And then bowel movements, right? Like ideally we should be having 1 to 3 bowel movements a day and looking for, well-formed, consistent bowel movements. So anything outside of that, like ideal state, is your body talking to you. So it's a chance to get curious and say like, oh, what is it saying? Why is this going on? Right?
So true. I mean, one of the main complaints we get in our office is constipation or, constipation and then diarrhea alternating. And, it's always a huge sign, like something is definitely off. So you talked about absorption being important. So how can we optimize, absorption to get the most nutrients from our food?
Yeah. So such a great question. And so many of us are really well versed on like the what to eat, right? We've done the research. We're like, okay, I know that I have to eat healthy and nutrient dense food, but absorption is actually the most important thing because we aren't what we eat, we're only what we absorb, right? So thinking about how we can optimize absorption and really reap the benefits of everything that we're putting on our plate. Again, thinking about this in a top-down sort of priority. Your digestion actually starts in your mouth when you're starting to chew your food, right? And so really prioritizing chewing, and this was a hard one for me, and especially the multitasking people who are used to eating on the fly and kind of rushing through, maybe taking care of the kids or, running to their next meeting, really slowing down, mindful eating, chewing your food really, really well to help to break down, from the top. And then stomach acid is next. And this is such a common issue I see in my practice. And I don't know about both of you, but like low stomach acid is certainly on the rise. Whether it's facilitated by H. pylori infection or, a long-term plant-based diet, low zinc levels, low stomach acid is such a huge issue. So if you're curious about low stomach acid, should I share like a little at-home thing?
I would love that. Yeah.
Okay, great. So my freebie at-home stomach acid test is a baking soda test. And so you grab a tablespoon of baking soda and put it into a cup of water, maybe a half cup of water. And you're going to drink this first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. And what you're looking for is this burping reaction within the first 2 minutes of drinking this solution. And I want you to think back to like elementary school where you poured like the apples or the vinegar with baking soda and watch the volcano erupt, that little science experiment.
Yeah.
For a pretty instant reaction. So if your stomach has adequate amounts of acid, we're looking for that acid base reaction, which for us digestively is going to come up as a burp. A lot of my clients will put their timer on and be like, I got to 14 minutes and nothing happened. So that's a really good sign of low stomach acid. And it doesn't tell us the why behind it. Is it H. pylori? Is it something else going on? But it certainly tells us, all right, we need to prioritize supporting our stomach acid, which you can do through digestive bitters, drinking some apple cider vinegar before a meal, or using betaine HCl to help to boost stomach acid levels as well.
It's crazy because, and I'm sure you see this a lot, how many people come to us with on PPI, and they have any gastric issue and their doctor puts them on a proton pump inhibitor to basically lower their acid. And I'm like, you don't have to lower your acid. You probably have low acid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why. So if for anybody that's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why was I having acid reflux if I have low stomach acid? And it's really that your food is coming into your stomach. And I want you to think of it like an empty container and it's just sitting there. There's no acid in that container to break it down. And so, we've all made a smoothie and left it on the counter and that protein starts to ferment and it looks a little bubbly and it looks a little odd after a half an hour. And that is what's happening inside of your stomach. So you're getting this breakdown, this fermentation of your meal, and you're getting this acid reflux coming up as more of like a reaction from the lack of stomach acid. And that can come up, through a sour taste in the back of our throat, which is something I always ask my clients about. Bad breath, feeling like we always have bad breath is another good sign of low stomach acid. And the acid reflux, the burping after meals for sure. So it's more of a fermentation and things just sitting there for far too long versus having an abundance of acid per se. And again, there's tests we can do to verify that for sure.
Right. And then, that's what happens is all that pressure builds up and that's where a lot of the acid comes up into the esophagus. And that's where patients can feel that. And then it just creates a domino effect. We see so many nutrient deficiencies, in the practice on blood work and starting to work on digestion and in the gut. You really start to see nutrients go up. It's amazing when you're really working on digestion.
Yeah,
so let's get into plant medicines. I want to hear about why you're so passionate about this, especially with your new product. So tell us about some herbs for healing. Let's get into that.
I'd love to. So I do believe that plants are the best medicine. And if we think back before we had access to all these like incredible supplements and, pharmaceutical medications, which are mostly derived from plant derivatives anyway, our bodies know plants really, really well and have for like millennia, right? This is what we've been using. And like, we are the original witches. And I think, holistic medicine is just like us bringing that back to people, right? And so I do think that our bodies really resonate with plant medicines. It's a gentle form, but it's a really great therapeutic way to help to kind of bring balance, minerals, vitamins, and also kind of modify how our cells are communicating. And I also think that all disease is a lack or breakdown of communication on a cellular level. So if we can get those nutrients back in and get our cells kind of singing back in harmony, then we're going to feel a lot better. So from my early days of graduation, one of the first things I did was host a tea making workshop. And I don't know why, just intuitively, I was so drawn to like mixing herbal medicine and just really getting to know plant by plant and creating these formulas. And so in my practice, what I would do a lot of times was seeing patients, I'd mix them a custom healing tea on their way out and be like, okay, here's what you need for, a better night's sleep. Here's what you need for your afternoon crash. Here's what you need to help you have lighter periods. And I got such great feedback from my patients about teas, and they would be messaging me, a week later being like, can you make me more of that? I just realized the power of plant medicines. And it's such also a simple way to bring mindfulness and medicine into our life, just, brewing a cup of tea. So I decided to create something a little bit more accessible that I could get into everybody's homes. And so we've created this blend of 4 different herbal teas to really match each phase of your menstrual cycle. And they also have incredible stress supporting herbs and adaptogens in there as well.
And they're beautiful.
Yes.
It's really the product is you open the box and you're just like, this looks like a Christmas present. I mean, yes. It's real. And it's so cool because there's 4 teas and there's one for each part of the cycle. And it's really, really cool. I've never seen anything like that done so well. So it's really exciting. So I can't wait for everyone to, you guys have to try these teas.
Thank you. Yes. So I am biased, but I am also obsessed. And, we've been formulating for over 1.5 years now. I had a chance to work with a tea sommelier. So we've all tried like herbal teas and you're like, this is great, but it tastes a little earthy, And so really customizing the formula, I must have tried over 50 different samples of tea back and forth. And they're all certified organic. Most of them are selected from biodynamic farms here in North America and a few in Europe for the Vitex berries and Schisandra berries. But yeah, they're fabulous. So I've created it so that if you do have a period, if you are currently menstruating, you can do the full cycle set, which has your follicular, menstrual, luteal, and your ovulatory phase all there for you. And then let's say you moved on to a different stage of life, or you're in this perimenopause, menopause phase, you can lean into our duo, which is our follicular and luteal phase. And these are really helping to, bring minerals and balance and support your liver, but also easing anxiety, stress. We've got some like cooling herbs in there as well. So we've got some teas for every phase of our life, and they're very giftable, like Becky said.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I'm super excited about that. Well, where can people find you? Where can they find the teas, and where are you most active? I'm sure, your social media is great. So why don't you tell everyone where you can find all this stuff?
Yeah. So I spend most of my time on Instagram at The Soulful Sprout. And we do have a tea Instagram if you're interested in learning a little bit more about plant medicines or how these teas could work to support your menstrual cycle. They are a great combination with cycle syncing. So if you're into cycle syncing, and I know that you both did a podcast on cycle syncing, which I loved, this is a really great way to just kind of keep that and simplify that. So the Soulful Tea Blends Instagram is there for you as well. And then my website is thesoulfulsprout.com.
That is so awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And thanks for being, some people don't know how to simplify things. And this is a very complex, topic between the gut and the hormones. And I love how you really made it easy to understand. I think people are really going to love this episode. So if you guys did love this episode, don't forget to leave a review and mention this specific episode so people go right to it and listen to it. And thank you so much for coming on, Ashleigh.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
And thanks everybody for listening, and have a great day.